السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
You just make sure that everybody's muted, please. Jazakumullah khair. And we go to Ismail. You're being made co-host, so you're going to be, inshallah, starting the class in a minute. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, and passing salutation upon His Messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we go ahead with our second part of transaction, which is from the book of Al-Wajeez. The issue is that, subhanallah, when was announcing for this talk, which is the
الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله
Ismail,
آله وصحبه.
Ismail, what is happening?
Sorry, Ismail, I've muted you, brother, because Sheikh is still talking. I think maybe he didn't hear you, Sheikh.
Ismail, can you just wait, please? I'm going to start recording from the beginning. I think his internet is not really good. Ismail, wait. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. This is the second part of Al-Wajeez, which is the second part of the transaction, and it's from the book of Al-Wajeez. And as I said from the beginning, that there were so many people asking me to educate them regarding the transactions. And this is a topic, not everybody can really swim into it. It's a deep ocean. The person who wants to swim in it has to be a very skillful swimmer. And it amazes me that they're asking about these issues and then they don't really attend the class. So I do apologize to them that if they're going to ask me later on about something, and I would say to them, I cannot answer you, brother. You have to come to the class and learn your deen and learn whether this what you're doing is halal or haram. Because there are lots of things in the market at the moment. There are lots of businesses that you need to know whether it's halal or haram. So you cannot just every time that you are indulging into a business and already you have made lots of profit and then you say, oh, is it halal or haram? So if you are genuine about what you're asking about, then you need to sit in the classes. This is from where the traps of the shaitan. Shaitan would like the person to be ignorant all the time. So I'm pretty sure that if I was announcing here today or tonight, there was an entertainment of something that the person likes, like somebody jumping up and down or acrobatics, you'll find the number is not 25 people. You'll find a lot of people have double, triple. So for the brothers, when they say that we blame the people of knowledge, they're not really teaching us. No, the blame is not the people of the knowledge. It's the blame on the people who are receiving. They're not really keen to learn their deen. And learning the religion is not really something which is, it's something that was entertaining. It's actually needs patience. You have to sit and start taking notes and all of that. And that's how you're going to save yourself from the hellfire. I had so many questions regarding the business. The amount of the questions, it does not reflect the amount of people who are learning this. So if anybody's going to ask me any transaction from today, I will refer him to the classes. They have to come to the classes and show dedication and seriousness. As I said, this is a topic that lots of people would, even students of knowledge would avoid to talk about it because he needs to be a very well versed into it to talk about it, because it involves things which is practical issues day in, day out. طيب, we have the last thing that we talked about was the title, which is to encouragement in earning early, or to ask for the earnings as early as you can. So please start now with short introduction, ya Ismail. Don't make khutbat al-hajj, just short introduction and go ahead with the title, please.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Tonight on the 30th of Dhul Hijjah in the year 1441, corresponding to the 14th of August in the year 2020, We are in the concise presentation of the fiqh on page 459, chapter Business Transactions, subchapter Encouragement to seek one's livelihood early in the morning. Sakhar al-Ghamidi said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "O Allah, bless my nation in its early hours."
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allah had blessed for my ummah the early earnings, to take the livelihoods or to earn your livelihoods in the morning. And also we have another hadith which is in Sunan Abi Dawood, which is authentic, that whenever the Prophet ﷺ, he would send an army, he would send them at the beginning of the day, early Fajr. And Sakhr, this one, he was a merchant, he was a trader, he is a businessman. So he would start his business as early as possible in the morning, and that's why he became rich. And I know for a fact there was a person whom is a friend of mine who had made a fortune out of car selling. He told me what he was doing. He said, and this is back in the days where there was no internet, and for selling cars, the target for that is the Auto Trader. An Auto Trader is a magazine or something that would be produced every Arbi'a, Wednesday. So he would go to the news agent as early as 7 o'clock or 6:30, some of them they open, and he gets the first Auto Trader, and straight away he will go and hunt for the bargains, and then he would call these people in the morning, the first one to call, and he will book a appointment to view, and then he will go and buy one car or two cars sometimes every week, and he made a fortune out of that. And that reminded me of this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, "Burika li ummati fi bukuriha." Allah had put blessings for you in the earnings that you do in the early mornings, where everybody's asleep. Right, going into the following title.
What one should say upon entering the marketplace. Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar narrated from his father, on the authority of his grandfather, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Whoever says the following upon entering the marketplace, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu, yuhyi wa yumitu, wa huwa hayyun la yamut, biyadihi al-khayru kulluh, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir." The translation of which being, there is none worthy of worship except Allah alone, without any partner with him. For him is the dominion, and to him is the praise. He gives life, and he brings about death. He is the living, and he does not die. In his hand is all good, and he has power over all things. Then Allah will record for him 1,000,000 good deeds, and erase from him 1,000,000 evil deeds, and will build for him a house in paradise.
Okay, this title basically talks about what the person says when he enters the market. And this hadith, which is hadith of the Prophet ﷺ had said, from the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar, is actually a hadith which is in question regarding its authenticity. For example, we find Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen, Sheikh ibn Baz, they don't make it authentic. But the scholar of hadith of Sheikh al-Albani, he says that this hadith is authentic. And he brings the authenticity of it and he discusses it in his books. And this hadith is great because it gives you a lot of hasanat. First of all, this is the market. The market people, they don't really remember Allah. Market, remember how, the market is the worst of places in the sight of Allah. This is to remind us is that when you remember Allah Azza wa Jal in places where people are oblivious from remembering of Allah, you'll get a great reward. That is why we'll find the Prophet ﷺ, for example, he fasts the most between Rajab and Ramadan. That is the month of Sha'ban, because people are oblivious. They're not really into the mood of remembrance of Allah and making ibadah. So this is at-ta'abbud, worshipping Allah, remembering Allah in the times or the places where people, they don't do so. And that's a great principle, we have to learn it. So in the market, people are not really sort of keen to make any sort of ibadah or remembrance of Allah because they are, looking here and around. searching for a prophet or searching even wal'idhu billah, for fahisha, looking at the women or all of this. So that's why it's very mighty rewardable when you remember Allah Azza wa Jal. Here this hadith which says that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that if a person when he enters the market says the following: La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamd. Now lahul mulku wa lahul hamd, up to here, that's a dua you say it even after Maghrib and after Fajr. This is a dua which is common, everybody knows it. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamd. Yuhyi wa yumit, again, you know that as well. Now, yuhyi wa yumit, up to here, yes, but wa huwa hayyun la yamut, that's a specialty for the market. Yuhyi wa yumit, gives life and death. Wa huwa hayyun la yamut, and he's alive, does not die. Then biyadihi al-khayru, and there's a narration, kullu, in his hand, all of the good. Biyadihi al-khayru kullu. Now, if you, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, and he is capable of doing everything. If you say this, he said, you're going to get million hasana. Prophet ﷺ doesn't know the word million, and not know the companions, this word million. What do they know? Alf, 1,000 of 1,000. That's why the translator made it a million. 1,000 of 1,000 to 6 zeros, well, 1 million. But they don't know the word million. You will be given 1,000, which is a million hasana, and 1,000 million sayyi'ah will be removed. And then the hadith says, Bana lahu baytan fil jannah. And also Allah will build him a house, a palace in paradise. There's another narration as well. He will be elevated 1,000 darajah. That is 1 million rank. He will be elevated 1 million rank in paradise. That's as well a hadith which is authentic from a different narration. So we have understand now, alhamdulillah, and we understood that it is a great rewardable act just to remember Allah Azza wa Jal in the market and say that dua. Very easy dua. As I said, it's got so many common similar things to the dua that you say in Adhkar al-Sabah, in Adhkar al-Masa, and after Fajr and after Maghrib. Naam.
Allah has made trade permissible. The basic ruling concerning business transactions is that they are all permissible as long as they are done with the approval of the two parties and they have not been explicitly prohibited by the lawgiver.
So basically, this is a principle. All types of transactions, the default of it is to be halal, as long as the person who is selling and the person who is buying, they are in mutual sort of agreement. And also that the Sharia, Allah Azza wa Jalla, His Messenger, did not prohibit such a transaction. So if Allah did not prohibit it, and if both are in agreement, the buyer and the seller, then the transaction is to be halal. So basically, the amount of or number of types of transactions which is halal are uncountable, too many to be counted. So that's why now the author, unlike other authors, they will focus upon what is prohibited, because what is prohibited is limited, and what is legal and allowed is unlimited. Too many. That's why we're coming now with too many names of too many transactions. Some of them halal, some of them haram. So that's now we're going to talk about those one which are haram. And this here is not just a type or a certain type. Some of them are a principle, like the first one. First one underneath which, and lots of it, lots of transaction is based upon it. So if we understand this, we'll be able to solve lots of matters. So let's just go to the first one, Bay'ul Gharar. Go.
Business transactions forbidden by the lawgiver.
So here, what he said, forbidden transactions. Okay, by Allah Azza wa Jal. He brought us the one which is prohibited. Fadl.
Number 1, overly risky transactions.
So
this refers
overly. I have to take it easy because they are really concept. So to make the speech very slower. Overly risky transaction. So risky, but it's overly risky. I mean, sometimes there's risk, but the risk is unavoidable. We're going to see that. But this is overly risky. So this risky, Sharia forbids and prohibits. So we're going to see lots of examples for that. Go ahead.
This refers to any transaction containing unknown quantities or qualities, or containing great risk or gambling.
So basically, uncertain quantity. We don't know. So there's a winner and a loser basically in that one, on quality as well, and in terms as well. This is basically like gambling. So there will be a winner and there will be a loser, because there's a big possibility that somebody will be winning and somebody will be losing, and that's not the case. When you buy something, there's no such thing winning. So for example, when I bought like for example a laptop, okay, there is no such thing as winning and losing. And I wanted the laptop, and the person who's manufacturing or sold the laptop, he made his money. So both of us, we were having a mutual interest here. But in terms of the thing that you are buying, selling something, that you are selling it, and in a way that there is a big risk, okay, either you're going to lose or win. That's the one which is prohibited, as we're going to see inshallah. طيب, hadith Abi Hurairah, تفضل.
Abu Hurairah said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam prohibited bay' al-hasa and overly risky transactions.
Right. Bay' al-hasa, an overly risky transaction. Did he translate what is al-hasa, please, in English?
No.
Okay. Well, it's going to come, inshallah, bay' al-hasa. I'm going to see, inshallah. First of all, this is...
There's a footnote there, Shaykhana, in the book.
That's what I'm just saying. I'm asking, but...
Number 16, Ismail, at the bottom, Habib.
We would like you to prepare next time, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Ismail, can you read that, please?
Okay.
Footnote, Jazakallah. Prepare next time, because I knew that it has to be the translation, but I don't have the English book in front of me. Fadl ya habibi.
This is where one says, for example, throw this pebble, and wherever merchandise it lands on is yours for such and such price. Again, this type of sale is not valid due to the ignorance and risk involved.
Right. Okay, we will gonna, inshallah, talk about the bay' al-hasa in details, because there is more than one way of doing it. Okay, so bay' al-hasa is actually of 3 types. So we'll see them, inshallah, under the bay' al-hasa, which is, I think, maybe in 2 pages, maybe in your book. Bay' al-hasa, which is throwing the hasa. Okay, so this is like, for example, let's say I'm buying a land, and I'm saying that, okay, I will offer 10,000 pounds for the land of yours, which is as much as far as my throw. So if I throw, for example, that is, and because I'm a good thrower, and maybe the wind is helping me, okay, and then my stone traveled a lot, so I will be buying a lot of land, because that throw will be big land, so I will be winning and he will be losing. But if I was a weaker person, or maybe I was strong, but the wind came against me, and they call it unlucky, unfortunate, okay, and then the stone landed very close, then he will be winning, because I will be purchasing just small land for that particular money I have offered. Okay, so that's bay' al-hasa. And then he said bay' al-gharar, which is the overly risky. Okay, now here in this hadith of Abu Hurairah, we're going to be inshallah discussing what is the benefit from hadith Abu Hurairah. Number one, what we understand from hadith Abu Hurairah, that it is prohibited to make bay' al-hasa, which we will explain it with more details. I'll give you an example. Also, that the Prophet ﷺ, he had made this prohibition to be, which is, he forbade, it's prohibited, that means haram. So when we find a prohibition from the Prophet ﷺ for certain something, for certain thing, then there is a haram involved here. So we have learned here that al-asl, the default of prohibition, is that it is haram, and you will be sinned if you do it. That's the default of that. Okay. Also, we learn from this that this tahrim, it will entail as well the invalidation. Because it is haram, such a transaction is invalid. Always we say, an-nahyu yaqtadi al-fasad. Prohibition entails invalidation of the transaction. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited selling and buying by a man during the khutbah al-Jumu'ah, Salat al-Jumu'ah, okay, then this transaction, if it's been done, then it is sinful and it is invalid. will not go through. Right. So here, bay'ul hasa, the throwing of the stone, it entails sin and invalidation. Now, if they were to be ignorant regarding such a transaction, then they will not be sinned, but still the transaction is invalid. Again, if they both of them, they were ignorant, they didn't know this is haram, so they are, in sin wise, they are immune. I mean, they are not going to be sinful because ignorance comes in here, but the transaction still is invalid. Also, we learn from Hadith Abi Hurairah the prohibition of gharar, the overly risky transactions. Okay, which we will, gharar is a lot. And also we learn that the Prophet ﷺ is being given the as well, he is being given the eloquent speech, and that is when he has made the gharar to be referring onto the hasa. That's in balagha, we call it eloquent speech. And here the Prophet ﷺ as well is being given the few words, which means a lot, which we call it jawami'ul kalim. He's just a sentence here from the Prophet of Allah had encompassed lots of transactions. Bay'ul gharar. Bay'ul gharar, as we're going to see lots of examples underneath bay'ul gharar. But also, we find that why bay'ul gharar is invalid and is being prohibited. This is because the Sharia, Shar'ullah Azza wa Jal, is keen to block anything that will bring enmity between the buyer and the seller, to bring enmity into the society. Why? What is the enmity here? Is that because bay'ul gharar, it will make the person either a winner or a loser. So if he's a winner, it will encourage him to win more, and that's, we call it greed. Okay, and if he's a loser, it will make him in despair from the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from qadarillah azza wa jal. Because he'll be saying, why am I a loser? Am I a loser? So he will start hating the decree of Allah azza wa jal, which will entail later on, he will make a major sin. And that maybe comes out of the fold of Islam. Because why am I, he would say, why am I'm unlucky all the time? That's why the winner and the loser like this in transaction is prohibited in Islam. And also the Islam's keenness in this hadith, that is to block greed, to block devouring the wealth of somebody without due right. Right, let's go now to what Al-Imam An-Nawawi says, rahimahullah, in Sharh Muslim, explanation of Sahih Imam Muslim. Now,
in his commentary to Sahih Muslim, volume 10, page 156, Imam An-Nawawi wrote, "The prohibition of overly risky transactions is a great principle of the principles of business transactions. For this reason, Muslim presented this hadith first. Countless other issues are covered by it, such as the sale of a runaway slave, of something that..."
Take it easy, take it easy. So, in such a way, in such example, he says that, he says, first of all, he says, Imam Muslim, he put it, okay, as the first hadith in this chapter is called transactions, which is the prohibition of overly risky transactions. And he says, under which lots of types will come in. He says an example, bay'ul abiq, that is to sell the runaway slave. Here, the runaway slave, why am I selling? Why? Basically, let's say you have a slave. Slave is a property, and you own him. And this slave, he ran away. So you might sell it now for somebody. You want a slave, okay? Then you'll give him for first of all a cheap price. Why a cheap price? Because he ran away. It's not, if he was under your possession, of course you're gonna ask for more money for him. But because he ran away, okay, let's say it cost about £1,000. Okay, brother, 50%, 500. So £500. Now, if that guy who is the buyer was able to catch him, he's a winner because this guy cost about £1,000. He made a profit of 500. So the guy here is the one who's selling it is a loser, and the buyer is a winner. But if this guy paid 500 and he tried his best to catch with this runaway slave, and he did not catch him, so he lost 500 basically. And this guy is a winner because he got 500 for nothing. That's why Sharia came to block that. Second example, please.
Or of something, or the sale of something that does not exist.
something does not exist. For example, I am selling you the baby cup of the she-camel. So my she-camel is pregnant. I'm not selling you the she-camel. I'm selling you the baby of that she-camel. That it doesn't exist. Even if he is inside, I could see the womb, but the womb could be, it's just, maybe he's got some wind inside. It's not really a baby. It's not a cup. So I'm selling something which doesn't exist. So selling the non-existence is not allowed. And we're going to come to that. Bay'u habal al-habla. Habal al-habla, that means what is the inside, the fetus inside the pregnant camel or something like this. They used to do it in the Arabs. Not even one, even to the second generation. I'm selling you the baby camel of the pregnant she-camel of the pregnant she-camel. 2 generations. So you have to wait. Maybe this she-camel gonna impregnate it to go impregnate it. So she's gonna deliver, and that the baby's gonna go grow up and then deliver again. Subhanallah. This is how so that they would gamble, and then of course they will pay a very little price. Very little price. Either he will win and that camel will come, or he will lose. Another person will win because the camel died or something had happened to him, or it was not even there in the first place. Third one.
Or the sale of something unknown.
Something unknown. I don't know what it is. So I am selling you something which you don't know what it is. You don't know whether it is a human being or an animal, whether it's a cucumber, whether it is, I'm just selling you something. I'm selling you what is coming out of the door. You don't know what is coming out of the door. So whatever comes out of the door, okay, I'm selling you. Okay, or I'm selling you what I'm throwing onto my hand. You don't know what's in my hand. So you say, okay, I'll pay £50. I could be throwing a camera, which is worth £200. I could be throwing a stone, which is worth nothing. After that, naam.
Or the sale of something that one cannot deliver.
You cannot deliver because it's impossible. So something you cannot deliver, right? So that is, you're selling something that I'm selling you the tomatoes of, for example, that is of the country, which is my enemies, and I can't go inside. I can't go it. Something I'm not able to hand it over because it's not in my possession. It's not in my possession. How can I do that? I'll give you a proper example for that. Arabs used to do this, which is the runaway, okay, as well, camel. I'm selling you that runaway camel. So I'm not able to give it to you. So you have to go and get for it. Go and run for it. Runaway camel. If I'm selling you a camel which is in the posture, yeah, you could see him. Yes, no problem, because you could see him. But a camel which is run away, I'm not able to give it to you. Okay, so that's as well is not allowed. Go ahead.
Or the sale of something that is not completely owned by the seller.
Okay, so if I'm not owner of the seller, either I'm going to be an attorney. Yes, no problem. But if I'm not I'm an owner of the seller, how can I sell you something which is not, I'm not the proper owner? So I'm selling you the car of somebody who does not belong to me. How can I do that? Unless that person gave me permission to be a representative of his. We'll come inshallah and do. Okay, or
the sale of the fish in a large body of water.
A large body, that means selling you the fish in the ocean. How can you sell me the fish in the ocean? Okay, selling you the fish of the beach in Slough. Sorry, in Brighton. How can you do that? But if it was a limited or like a fish farm, yes, because it's limited. I could see the pool where the fish is. You could sell me that because I know there's a fish there, but not something that I'm not able to, I can't really hand it over, and I don't know how many, because it's impossible now.
Or the sale of the milk in an animal's udder.
Okay, the sale of the milk as well, because the milk there, it could be, it could be milk and it could be no milk, because I don't know how much is in the udder. I could be a winner, could be a loser. So it could be the udder really is swollen and it looks like full of milk, but it's not. Okay, so that's as well comes under that. We have another example which has been mentioned here, the pigeons. So if I'm selling the pigeons, I'm selling you the pigeons which are flying here. Okay, that pigeon, if they are my pigeons, And I know for a fact they do have this habit of going back to where they come from, which is my nest and whatever I build for them, and no problem. Otherwise, I can't sell that because I don't know whether they're going to come back or not. And now,
or the sale of the fetus in an animal,
same thing we just talked about, yes, and
or the sale of an unspecified part of a heap.
what does that mean in English? Specified part of a heap.
So
Okay, anybody can
have
help us with this?
a
What is
stack of things, part
specified
of,
part of a heap? I don't understand that. No? Okay, well, let me just explain the Arabic bit. I don't know the English here. يعني, let me give more example on this, inshallah, when it comes to you. Let me this, but I want to understand the word of heap. Maybe it represents the right word for this one. Go ahead.
or the sale of a piece of clothing among garments.
So I'm just selling you a garment which has not been specified. A garment amongst these garments. You're not specifying it. Okay, another one.
Or the sale of a sheep among sheep, and so on.
So I'm selling you a sheep amongst these sheep. It could be fat, it could be big, it could be small, it could be ill. Same thing with the garment. It could be a garment which is expensive material. I'm just telling you like this without specification. Now,
all of these sales are void, as they all constitute a great deal of risk and uncertainty without any called for need.
right. I'll give you an example of as well, which are practical examples that is happening. Selling of the debt. This is happening. Companies, they do that. Let's say that you are in debt to a specific company. They are asking you for money. Okay. Because they're giving up on you, what do? They sell your debt to another company. So the other company start asking you. And they start negotiating. And what they did, this company who had sold the debt, let's say the debt is 1,000. They will sell this debt to another company, maybe for £100. So this company, the new one, is going to ask you, whatever they make above the £100, they are a winner. They're not going to tell you how much they took from that original company whom you are in debt to. Selling that debt is haram. Because there's a winner, there's a loser. Yeah, okay, so that is to sell the debt to somebody else, to get the debt from me. Okay, but selling the debt onto the person himself, yeah, no problem. So let's say this company, they have given me, for example, 1,000 kilograms of, let's say, wheat, okay, as a loan, right? And I need to send it back 1,000 kilograms, not for money. So, and I said to, okay, well, I don't want to send it back 1,000 kilos. This happens between people, not between a person and a company. I'm just giving you an example. So they want 1,000 kilograms of, they've loaned it to me, a loan. They did not sell it to me as a loan. Okay, so I needed to bring it, take it back to them 1,000 kilograms. And then I said, okay, I want to purchase it. I want to purchase it, no problem. As long as this purchase is with the same money, with the same sort of price of this quantity in the market. So if that company sold it to me extra, then that's riba because they're making money onto that. No, haram. But it has they sold it just like with the price of the market, no problem, inshallah, that's halal. طيب. Go ahead.
If, due to some need, people have to venture into risk-bearing transactions, which cannot be avoided except with difficulty, and if the amount of risk is minuscule, then the transaction is permissible.
Go on.
Thus, for example, Muslims all agree that it is permissible to buy a stuffed dish even if one does not see what it is stuffed with, while
the stuffed dish.
But that's what it says.
Stuffed dish. It's not dish, it's stuffed. Like, for example, the coconut. Or, for example, the chestnut. Okay, what is stuffed inside? Go on, yes?
While if one were to buy the stuffing by itself, it would not be permissible.
Yeah, because this chestnut, for example, it comes like, you know, I sell it. I don't know what's inside it because, you know, I sell it in quantity. Nobody would just say, come to the, for example, let's say in Tesco and start breaking them to go and buy what's inside. So we sell it because that risk cannot be avoided. I'll give you an example. Watermelon. You know, we buy watermelon, isn't it? Some of it comes sweet, some of it unsweet. Some of it comes really nice and red, some of it really white and bitter. Okay, that risk is acceptable because it's first of all minimum. Okay, you're allowed to, in our countries, to buy it with, we call it on the cut. So you say to him, okay, I want you to cut it for me. If it's red, I see it red, then I'll buy it. Yeah, no problem. This is called al-Muslimuna inda shurutihim. The Muslims abide with their conditions. This is a shart. As long as this shart, this condition does not make halal haram, haram halal, it's allowed. Let's say, for example, in our country, this happens that he's got a pile of watermelons, and in front of everybody was buying. He took one of the watermelons just like randomly took one, and he opened it and he showed it to everybody, really red, nice and red, and he put it back. Okay, and the people started buying because, you know, he took a sample randomly, so everyone started buying. If one of the people had found that what he bought is white and bitter, he's allowed to return it back. Why? Because even though there was condition, the condition was not with the words, the condition was with the actions. He gave a sample in front of everybody, showed it to everybody. Look at that. And if that as well been known as a custom, as a habit in everybody, that if I buy, you know, watermelon from you, it has to be red, then I'm entitled to go back and say to you, this watermelon is rubbish. Look, it's white, bitter. Okay, then you're entitled to go. You know, in our countries, we have a season for selling watermelon. And that season comes in the summer. So we'll have tents being built on top, you know, on the streets. Each farm will have us, and they start putting a lot of quantities of watermelon. And you come and buy it very cheap, very cheap. I'm talking about this big watermelon like this would cost about £2-3. That's it, massive one. Okay, even less sometimes when it comes. So that's what I'm just saying, that if the Muslims have made a condition, yes. So sometimes there is no condition, so you buy it. That's called, we call it that, you know, without you asking whether it's white or red, and you took it. Khalas. That's a risk, which is it's a risk that is knowing. You know, you can't avoid it. Another beautiful example as well, when you buy a house. Okay, when you buy a house, you do your best to go and send the company to go and see, and they'll measure and they will see the water moisture and everything, yes? But no way, for example, you will say to them, okay, before I buy it, I need to know the foundation. I mean, what is that? So I'm going to dig the foundation, the house will fall down. The house will fall down. So I will take the house with this risk, which is the foundation is not strong, but this is not overly risk. This is small risk, unavoidable. Because I know that if I'm going to expose the foundation, I'm going to make damage to the house. Unless the house shows some hints or signs that the foundation is not right. So now I'll say to you, brother, I can't buy that house unless I check on the foundation, because it could tell that the house is not really steady. That's something else, yes. But normally it is the case when we check the house and when we buy the houses, the company will send somebody go and measure this and measure that, but they don't really go and dig with a compressor onto the foundation to find out if it's a strong house or not. They don't do that. So that's an example. Sheikh al-Islam Taymiyyah regarding, for example, selling, you know, the onion. You know the onion, I don't know if you've seen it when it grows, the part of it is inside the ground. Part of it is inside. You only see what the leaves outside. So this person wants to buy, you know, from a farm, okay? And you know, we can't just say to him, well, bring it out. Well, he could, but he wants to sell it. You take it out. And is it allowed? Yes. Sheikh Islam says it's allowed as long as the person who's buying it is an experienced person. Because experienced person, the expert, he will know from the leaves generally that this is a healthy onion. You'll find some 1 or 2 or a percentage, very low percentage of it was not really consumable, but most of it will be good. So the expertise, yes, because he will know and he will buy. Otherwise, if it is not expertise, he's not allowed to buy unless he sees it. because you don't know what is in the ground. طيب. Also, you know, these shops, they go £1 world, £1 shop, and £2 shop, and okay, you find everything £2. That's no problem. Okay, there's no winning and losing, because these guys, they know what they're bringing. They're not going to bring you, for example, a laptop and they say £1. No, they're bringing things there where most of the profits there, it could be either, you know, very little or some of it's big. So depending upon. So they bring, and they will as well make a contract with the factory to produce for them, let's say, a specific shampoos, which is not as quality-wise or quantity-wise of that shampoo which is being sold in the market. So they make it £1, no problem. So everything there, and everybody can see it, and he's got the choice to buy it. It's not something that's winning and losing in there. Now, go ahead.
You should realize that the mulamasa transaction, this is when the seller tells the buyer, for example, any garment you touched is yours for such and such. The munabada transaction, this is where the seller tells the buyer, any garment you fling to me is yours for such and such price. The sale of an animal before it is born, the hasa transaction, stud fees, and other transactions concerning which there is a particular text are all included under the general category of the prohibition of overly risky transactions. But they have been mentioned separately and prohibited specifically because they were types of transactions that were well known in the pre-Islamic days of ignorance.
Is mulamasa mentioned here, munabada mentioned here, habal habala, bay'ul hasa, asab al-fahl. All of them, they will be entitled now, subtitle on each one. So I'll explain them inshallah, which is the mulamasa. This is, an Arab used to do that, and munabada used to do that, and asab al-fahl, stud fees as well, and also bay' al-hasa, the throwing of the stone, sales, all of that will be explained inshallah. Let's go to the first one, jazakallahu khairan, bay'ul mulabasa wal munabada. Na'am.
The mulamasa transaction and the munabada transaction. Abu Hurairah said, two types of transactions were prohibited, al-mulamasa and al-munabada. Mulamasa is where each party touches the garment of the other without inspecting it. Munabada is where each flings a garment to the other and neither of them looks at the garment of the other.
Okay. So basically, in the Arab, you see it like this. He goes to the shop, okay? And then he would say, okay, whatever your hand touches, that's yours for the such and such price. So we'll give, for example, okay, I'm going to pay £50. Okay, £50, you got one chance, that's it. You look at the colors. If you touched one, that's yours. So you could be touching one which is worth 50, okay, or worth less than 50, a lot, okay? That means you're a loser. You lost money. Or you touch something which is, mashallah, costs £100. So the buyer would be a loser. Okay, that's called touching, right? That's, so I would tell you this as soon as you touch it. The same thing of flinging. So he says to him, okay, I will sell you, you pay £50. Okay, £50 to the shop. So whatever I fling for you, you take it. So I will close my eyes or something and then I'll fling one for him. Either will fling something which is very worthy something, then I'll be a loser as a buyer, or something which is worth nothing and he will be the winner, or and I'll be the loser. Sorry, worth nothing, and he will be the winner, the loser, and I will be the winner, the buyer, or it will be the, you know, just about the same price, and then there will be justice. So that's as well gambling. It's just like gambling. All of that is haram because there is overly risk. There's a winner and there is a loser. Now, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri.
Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade us two types of transactions and two types of garments. He forbade al-mulamasa and al-munabada transactions. Mulamasa is for one man to touch another's garment during the night or the day and not to inspect it beyond that. Munabada is for one man to fling a garment to the other and vice versa. That will be the end of the transaction without inspection or approval.
Right. Here we gave us another type of mulamasa. That is maybe during the night, you're touching it, you don't know. It doesn't look like it could be touching plastic. That means during the night there is no light. Okay, and he's not allowed to turn it over. Just khalas from the top. Maybe the bottom of it is different, the other side of it. Al-Munaba, the same thing which we have mentioned, and this is without looking and without being pleased of what we're buying and selling. No, that's not allowed in haram. Now he said he forbade us the profit of two as transaction, and then he said what? Two, what did he said? Two what? Two types of what? Clothing. Garments, two types of garments. Actually, it's not garments, just two ways of dressing up. Two ways of lubsatain. Two ways of putting the dress up. First one, which has been mentioned, lubsu samma. That is to put, or you could do garments actually, to put a garment in a way that you put on one side of yours and the other side is not really showing. Okay, so this is called the way of dressing up. This is called the garment samma. So it's like it's like something you put in one shoulder. This is not in the Hajj or Umrah. It's not in the Hajj or Umrah. So you put on one shoulder in one way, and the other one does not. It is showing. Okay, that's called a samma. So he puts his garment in one of his shoulders, and he does not put it in the second one. Second one, which is the second type of wearing which is prohibited, is the habwa. If you have one garment and you don't have the sarwal underneath to cover, and basically you are sitting in a way that would be exposing your aura. Okay, so you're sitting in a way, putting up your two legs in a way that your aura can be shown. In Silsila Sahih of Shaykh Al-Albani 2394, also he says, the Prophet of Allah, he said that وَأَكْلَتَيْن, he prohibits us from two ways of eating. So we have two ways of dressing up, two ways of eating. So two ways of transactions, two ways of eating, and two ways of dressing up. What are the two ways of eating? That is to sit on a ma'idah, on a table where alcohol is being drank. And that is regardless whether you drink or not. Somebody else is drinking. You're not allowed. Second one is to eat while you are on your belly. So you are stretching on your belly and you start eating as well. That is prohibited. Right. Now, second one.
Number 2, selling the unborn fetus. Ibn Umar said, the people of the days of ignorance used to sell camel's meat all the way to the extent of Habal al-Habla. And Habal al-Habla is the offspring of the present pregnant camel becoming pregnant in the future. The Prophet ﷺ forbade that.
So here we find three ways of doing this. Number one is prohibition of selling what is inside the womb of the she camel or the she sheep. Okay, because we don't know whether it is, as I said, pregnancy, could be air. Okay, and we don't know, maybe he's alive or dead inside. Okay, we don't know if he's complete in his features. Maybe he's missing an eye or leg, whatever. We don't know. Second way is that, second one which is prohibited as well here, is that what is in the belly, okay, of the she camel. So the she camel's got a baby. So I'm not buying that baby, I'm buying the baby of that baby. So the baby has to grow up and then get impregnated, and then we can become a she camel or a sheep, and then the one which is inside her when she gets pregnant. Also, that is, subhanAllah, far-fetched. The third one, which is, that is to sell something and to postpone the payment, okay, until the she camel is to be delivering the baby as well. This is one of the ways of doing it. In Arab used to do it. So I'm selling you something, okay, and you have your payment is deferred until that baby camel is produced. Baby camel could produce straight away, or it could be not produced. You have to wait for another impregnation to get another. So he will be deferred with a payment. And that is not as allowed as well. Coming to the third one.
Al-Hasa transaction. Abu Huraira said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam prohibited bay' al-hasa and overly risky transactions. Imam al-Nawawi wrote in his commentary to Sahih Muslim, volume 10, page 156, there are three interpretations to the meaning of bay' al-hasa. The first is for a person to say, I will sell to you the garments upon which these pebbles I throw land on. Or, I sell to you the land from here until where the pebbles land. The second
or for example, from the sheep, whatever the stone falls onto it. So here I am buying, for example, let's say, this happens in the, when you pay money as well, and you start shooting something in the fun fairs, and you don't know what we're shooting. It could be something expensive, it could be something cheap. That's gambling. All of that is gambling. The same thing, these hook machines, they don't know what's hooking. You're going to be hooking something cheap or hooking, okay? That's all of it gambling. So this is like bay' al-hasa. I'm selling you for £50 whatever you hit from the garments with your stone. I could be very good hitting it, the right sheep or the right nice clothes, or the sheep, the right best sheep. I could hit that one, but he will not show you the sheep like that. He will put them together, so you don't know which one is which. When you hit with your stone, you might hit a small sheep, so you have £50 will be a loss because that's worth at £20. Or you could have big massive sheep, £200, you're winning, and that's haram. Okay, that's the first thing. And also the land, which we have told you, it depends on how strong you are and if the wind is with you. Okay, so I will tell you how much quantity of that land, the throw of yours. So that depends how much you're going to throw and how far you're going to throw, depending upon your strength and also upon the wind. Now, secondly,
the second interpretation is that it is for a person to say, I have sold this to you, but you have an option to cancel until I throw these pebbles.
That means you're not giving him time. So I'm selling you this. You go, how much? Okay, I'm selling you this for £200, my mobile. But you don't have the chance. You have to say no if you don't want it. The moment I throw this, so I'm going to throw this stone. Okay, so from the time I threw the stone until the time it landed, this is the time for you to check whether you're not. So if you want it, then keep it. If you don't want it, you have to return it within that time, from the time and moment I threw the stone, because he doesn't want you to check. Okay, so it's a gamble. Either this phone is good or not good. It's a gamble. Third one.
The third is that they allow the throwing of the pebbles to determine the sale, saying, if I hit this garment with a pebble, I will buy it from you for such and such.
Otherwise, if I don't hit it, it's such and such. So I'm gonna, this garment, if I hit it, khalas, it will be cheap price, £50. If I don't hit it, then it will be £100. That's that's a gamble as well. So if I hit it, it's £50. So I'll be a winner. If I don't hit it, it will be £100. He will be a winner and I'll be a loser. All of that is gambling, all of it, overly risk. طيب عصب أو عصب فحل. تفضل. عصب الفحل stud fees.
Stud fees. Ibn Umar said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade stud fees.
What is the stud fees? This is the sperm of the male. Okay, the stud fees. Whether it is for renting or for selling, okay, it is not permissible. But it is permissible for the buyer to do this if he couldn't find an alternative, because he wants to impregnate his animals. Okay, it's like exactly when you have hijama. You give the hajjam the fee, but the hajjam should not take that fee. Hajjam is the cutting hijama. Should not take the fees. He should, if he takes it for his fuel of his car, not to feed himself with it, because kasbul hijama khabith is no good. The earning of the hijama. Now, so the Prophet ﷺ, regarding the stud fees, he said the following hadith, and this is Sahih Muslim, this hadith. Prophet of Allah, he was asked, what is the right of the she camels or the camels. What are the rights? He said the right of the camels is that if you sit in the water, to milk it, no problem, to milk that camel. And also to lend the stud fees of it. How do you lend it? You mean they lend the camel, the male, for the person who wants to have she camels. He wants to have, these camels to impregnate the she camels. And a man came to the Prophet ﷺ, he asked him about the stud fees, if he can really sell it. He told him off. Okay, but he said, if you want to honor, no problem. Okay, so honor, that means, you gave me the camel for my she camels to imprint. There's no money there involved or anything like this, but after I finish from the she camel, from the male camel, I sent it back to you, and I gave you a box of dates or whatever, Jazakallah khairan, because you have helped me, but not for the price of it. Why the Prophet ﷺ forbade this? Because you see, if I'm going to rent it from you, this male camel, to impregnate my she camel, it's going to be for example, a week. I might pay for the rental for 1 week, but the male camel is not in the mood to impregnate the she camels. He doesn't want to. So he'll be losing that money for the 1 week. That's why it's not allowed. And he could be as well doing the male sort of female intercourse and all of this sexual act, but there is nothing had happened, no impregnation. That's why there is gharar, overly risk. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. طيب. Now we'll stop here, inshallah. Following title is second prohibited sale, which is
Number 2, selling what one does not possess.
Okay, so number 1 was the gharar. Look at how many we have gharar, overly risk, lots of examples. Secondly, which is to sell something which you don't really possess, which is not under your ownership or under your control, as we're going to see, inshallah. We'll stop here and we'll leave 5 minutes to the questions, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
Barakallahu feekum, Shaykhana. If you have a question, you can raise your hands. Priority will be for the area of Aylesbury, inshallah. So brothers and sisters, raise your hands. And sisters, if you want to write your question, the chat is available for you. Ubaid, go ahead, brother. I'm muting you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What about the child? The government gave money and they put it into the shares and child trust. What do we do? That comes down to not allowed to have it. So what do we do with that money?
It's halal money. It belongs to the baby. Belongs to the child when he grows up.
They put it in the share. I've got some letter today saying this is how much shares you got and all that.
Halal, because the shares, I'm sure that you have given the option before to choose which company you want to have your money to be involved in. Like mine, I've got children as well, 2 of them, and maybe 1 of them, because it was the children who were 2002, I remember.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And I chose in the Islamic, because there's Islamic, which is they don't really invest in alcohol or anything like this. Okay, and they said to us, if you want to add as a friend and us to add to it, no problem, up to a certain limit.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's halal, because stock exchange halal, as long as the company that you are making transaction with is halal, no problem, because they don't go with risky transactions.
Okay.
That's why where the profit will not be that much.
Exactly.
Jazaka habibi.
Come forward, please, Aylesbury. Faisal, I'm going to unmute you.
No.
Right. Sheikh, you talked about the prohibited ways of eating. And in the books of fiqh, I've read where there is one way we should not sit reclining. But in those big books, it says the scholars differ as to what reclining means. Can you talk about that? What does it mean that we should not eat in a reclining manner?
Like this.
Okay. Thanks, Sheikh.
Jazakallah khair.
Shaykhana, I was actually wanting to ask you this same question.
So by the way, like this or like that, reclining. You're basically reclining. You're putting your hands on the floor, okay, that way or that way. There's lots of ways of doing it, but no.
Barakallahu feek, Shaykh. That answers my question. Please go ahead, Khubayb.
Sorry.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Yeah,
My question is regarding manufacturing. for example, if I order some windows or something that hasn't been made yet, and the manufacturer asks me for a 5% deposit or 10% deposit, is that permissible? Because I
Halal,
haven't.
halal, 100%. This is deposit, and this is deposit basically to make sure that you're going to buy it because they're going to manufacture it, and it's halal. Okay, that's we call it in Arabic arabon. Okay, this arabon. Now, because they're going to manufacture it for you, they're going to be, that means they're going to be a loss. But say that you did not want it later on. So al-Muslimuna inda shurutihim, and if they made a condition that this is going to be gone because you have made them to lose that, so they made a condition that they, usually it is the case that there is no condition, and in a normal circumstance where we buy from a person, okay, I said, so he's got this book, okay, and I want to purchase that book, and I said, brother, I don't have that money of the book. This is £5 of that book or that laptop, that particular laptop, which is cost about, let's say, £500. I paid, let's say, £50 an installment, and I said, keep that for me, I will buy it. So, and then after that I changed my mind. Okay, is he entitled for the £50? That guy, the buyer, the seller, sorry. I would say it depends. See, if he thinks that, for example, a customer came and he asked for it, and he said to him, well, brother, it's been sold, then he's entitled to take that money because he could assess his loss because of you had made a promise and he did not buy it. But if there was nothing of that, he's not entitled for that £50. He's not going to be punishing. Or rather, well, take the £50 back because there's nobody came to even to buy it. Now,
Go ahead, please, Harif.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. My question was, if you are walking, can you eat while you're walking? And also, can you talk while you're eating? So can you eat while you're walking and drink while you're walking? Is there a difference between this? And can you also talk while you're eating in a gathering? Because some cultures, they find that not nice.
okay, so talking while you're eating, it depends upon, if it is needed, but it's nothing to do with prohibition or not prohibition. I mean, you've got your mouth food and you're talking, maybe you spill the food, but there's no prohibition in the sense of, but it depends upon. So for example, if you had some food and it's in your mouth and you just about all of it, but you needed to answer something, there's no problem. But as for eating standing up, eating standing up is prohibited, not to say more prohibited than drinking standing up, because of Anas radiallahu anhu. As for eating while you're walking, that's because of the companions. They said that we were with the Prophet ﷺ eating while we are walking. That's why we say, if you are walking and you are eating, not to eat for the sake of, or to walk for the sake of eating. No. You're walking and you needed to eat while you're walking. That's an exception from eating standing up. But remember, you don't want to walk for the eating. No, you're walking and you had a sandwich, no problem. But if you're standing up, no, you have to sit down. So basically, the Sharia came to not to make you stop your walking for the food. So I gave you that concession. For the drinking, no, you have to sit down. There is no such thing drinking while you are walking. No. And this is hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Barakallahu feek, Sheikh. A sister wants to know if buying an unlimited minutes on your phone contract or buying an all-you-can-eat food buffet, are these allowed?
The scholars had differed, but usually it is the case what you pay is roughly to what is being estimated. Okay, I mean, our Sheikh Ibn Fawzan, he did not really allow this, but the scholar, they said he's wrong, that the open buffet, because the open buffets, they are actually, they know what is the quantity. There's no such thing as called gharar. Okay, even if you are a very huge man and eat a lot. Okay, so there's no such thing as called gharar. So the open buffets is allowed. And what was the question again as well about?
Unlimited minutes on their phone contract.
Well, they already as well, they have calculated, they know, how many minutes you're going to be using music as well. By the way, the minutes is just using air. then there's no any expense incurred upon them. If you understand me, he's telling you what already the tower is there, okay, the dish is there, so it doesn't matter how many minutes you're doing, not really. And they've got as well deals with other companies, okay, regarding of how many minutes when you call the company or the company calls you, they've got their own deal. So there's no such a thing as gharar because it is very minor. It's not a lot. No.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Muhammad from Osbury.
I need to now.
Oh, sorry, Sheikh.
I have to, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Inshallah, see you in 2 weeks' time regarding this topic. Bi idhnillah.